Dude, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you ever so much, Tom. Very good to be back.
So since we last saw you, massives of things have happened. You've been on escapades around the globe. You've released your first album. But before we get to that, let's touch on the early years of Edward Scissor. Just for anyone who hasn't heard of you before, give us a little recap of kind of how you got into hip hop.
Well, I'm one of those cherry hinting kids that's always searching for something more than the wreck. I first got into hip hop back in the day, early 90s, when hip-hop was at its truly greatest, in my humble opinion. Yeah, I bought into the glitz and glamour of the US stuff that was being sold solely in Jay's Records on Burleigh Street, rest in peace. And yeah, once you get that bug, once you're bitten by the hip-hop bug, it's pretty tricky to shake it. And that's not to say that I didn't listen to all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff that wasn't rap music along the way. It's just that's the one that stayed true to my heart and compelled me to start writing it myself.
As we're saying, it's been an absolutely mega year for you. Last time we spoke, album came out, Better Luck Next Year Life, which went on to be just hailed as a massive album for UK hip-hop. How did that make you feel, just the response that you got back from the album?
Well, it made me feel incredibly happy and very, very humbled because, you know, if you work on something as extensively as I did on that record, you often find yourself in a position kind of nearing the end that you lose scope on what it is you've made. So I wasn't sure exactly what kind of a beast I was putting out there for everyone to listen to. So to then receive the reception that it did obviously made all the hard work worthwhile, but yeah, it's very humbling.
Did you expect it though? Because I mean, Better Luck Next Life as an album, if you put it in context in the rest of the hip-hop world, it's very different. So, I mean, did you feel maybe a little bit nervous putting out there something so out there in general?
Nervousness certainly came into those sort of final few weeks when all the final cogs were spinning and the artwork was getting sent to factories and whatnot. I was certainly scared, but I was being reassured all along the way by the people around me that it was definitely a worthwhile project. Lamplighter was in a similar boat to me. He was like, I'm not sure. Oh, this is great. Day by day, like, it would switch and change. When you listen to something 70 times over and tweak the smallest of things, you often lose like a scope on the bigger picture. And listening back, if I listened to it like in the car on the way home or something, I would fall in love with it again, I'm sure, but there would be bits that I would still be critiquing. But I'm happy I put out a weird record that is seen as a bit of an anomaly in the scene and is seen as a strange instance or glitch or whatever you want to call it. And, you know, you could argue that that's the record that has made me who I am as an artist, even though I was making music for however many years beforehand. That was certainly like the milestone. Do you feel like, as you say about it defining you? Because, you know, I remember hearing you on Contact Play Records and, you know, doing guest verses, and it was so different in a way. What was the point where you sat there and was like, I'm going to go do this? What was the inspiration for you? Well, at the time I was living in Falmouth in Cornwall when I first started that record. Finished it back in London, but that was the first time ever that I decided to invest a shed load of time into putting something together and making a concise product, packaging it all up and turning it into an album. Everything before that was strictly part and parcel of the fun existence that I was living. So writing a verse about the partying and the girling and whatever you want to call it was just part of the banter. It wasn't a soul-purging process. So, you know, if you spend 3 years on something, which is kind of how long it took to get that record together, you're obviously going to end up exploring certain terrains that you wouldn't get to if you were drunk with your friends all in one room writing a verse for a tune that would ultimately get played at a Life of Lamb rave or something, which is a brilliant place and a fun place to make music. But if you really want to purge your soul and trawl like a new direction and new avenues, you need to reinvent the wheel, unless you're going to make an album which is strictly full of party bangers, which I was never and probably never ever will do. It depends on what you find satisfaction in doing. I found satisfaction in writing something that was far more insular. Well, I commend you for going out there and putting yourself out on a limb, and it's really served you well, because so many people have turned around and weren't expecting it. It's not something that anyone really foresaw. It was an incredible record in its own right. Thanks so much. It means a whole lot. Following on from that, obviously, you've gone out on tour with High Focus. Tell us about some of the milestones that you feel you've accomplished this year. What have been the big moments for you? So the milestones for me, the things that I'll never forget, and everyone around me that was playing those shows, Sammy B-Side, Dirty Dyke Jam Backs, that they would all agree that this summer's festivities were unreal. You know, stepping up to 2,000, 3,000 people on your ones, bar DJ Sammy B-Side, who's about to spin the track, that's a serious step up for me. Compare that to like a show at the Fez Club, for example. That's just a very different ballpark, and that's when I realised that we were definitely onto something. How did you find that transition? Because you say it there, and you make a great example. There is a massive step from going to playing that pub back room or that local club to then to sold out crowds. I cope with that by believing in what I'm doing. You know, if I had any doubts about the music that I'm going to showcase, then that's a problem. So it's all about belief in what you've done. The reason that belief is not tricky is because you know that the people are rammed into that big tent or rammed into that place to see you play a show. So you can take confidence from that. I'm also a firm believer of closing my eyes when playing live, because it means I can just concentrate on what I'm doing and let the music talk. I don't feel to jump around like a silly clown or anything. I just concentrate on delivering my music extremely well. Sobriety also really helps. You know, gone are the days of being boozed up when I'm playing a show. I might get boozed up after playing a show, but during or before, Mr. Sober.
So you talk about festival season last year. A notable moment for me, and especially for UK hip-hop in general, it was great, it was in this area, was Boom Bap.
Boom Bap is a brilliant thing. Big up Ivan Andradande. He's a sweetheart and a good friend of mine, and someone that I didn't even have any idea existed on this planet until Boom Bap came to be. So credit to him for A, putting it together, and B, being a nice person throughout.
We'll touch on Australia now, because what an amazing experience for you guys to go out there on the Smoke My tour, and by the looks of it, sell out venues across Australia. What was that like for you?
It was amazing. It was one of the greatest things. Credit to everyone that made it happen. It's one of the first times in my life as a musician where I felt as if music was my very sole only job on that adventure or tour or whatever you want to call it. And that is the dream. You know, the fans in Australia were absolutely rapturous. In some towns it was like a bit extreme, to be honest. But, you know, I'm not complaining for a hot minute. It was truly amazing. And ask anyone that went, they had silly good time.
Well, we're going to get you to play your first track for us now. Do you want to introduce this one?
Yeah, well, the first one is the title track to my forthcoming EP, which is out pretty damn soon, and it's called Therman. With Scissor tongue. Yeah. Yeah. Deep in the mystic pit, deeper than I've ever been. Deeper than the anabolic fetuses that never scream. Deeper than the feeble little carcasses that never dream. Sailing to the land inside the guillotine. Even if an atom bomb was soaring to a setting scene, I'll be walking onward till the laser beams envelop me. Walking forward till the shrapnel takes my face off me. Walking forward, mankind versus grey machines. Never face defeat and never let the doom set. Never dig a deeper hole, settle where the gun's kept. Every single moment in this epoch is not done yet. Every single organism twitching as the sun sets. And as the sun bled and ran bred, the birds saw the flames and abandoned the love nest. The seasons deleted, the seeds of the legions of people bereaved. All the evil will come next. It came forth shining on horizons. Turrets on the fourth floor were crystallized in silence. Word on the street is the death is their assignment. Lasers and nerve gas were methods to divide us. Every single human being, every single one of us. Every single heart was beating faster than a fizzing slug. And so we battled for 100 months. Molecules in bark took hold, but now your lungs are $100, it doesn't mean no. Dozen canned goods for a dozen man. Sit down and pay pop. Join hands and cry blood. Ask for forgiveness, resistances rise up. 2x4s meet metallic skulls and rebound like 2-point layups in a drunken little street fight with two prime suspects in a tunnel vision treehouse with two types of honey in the belly of the beehive. And now the president's on speed dial, reading from the pages of his gold leaf Bible book, sending out a message to the front line to keep up the good work and pray that the mothership would leak goods. Warheads to force field, they light up the skyline. Gunpowder plots on the 4th of July, but the force field stays strong. Foreign metal sweating under rockets in formation like swans in the night time. And demise tastes real in the blood bank. Triple O negative is running low and hearts need the sustenance to beat back. Foraging for berries in these bleak black tunnels of this monolithic heat tank.
We sank deeper than the sonnets affirmed. The bleak heath had descended as the populace burned. Stood looking for an echo as these colonies churn. The sky yellow, the merriments of Montgomery Burns. Top Gun, Tom Cruise, pilots shot down. Corkscrews punishing this lifeless plumage. I saw hundreds pulled apart by their ribcage. Man grew haggard, grew bloated by the bruises. And this mere flesh wasn't built like a 9-foot cyber savage stalking. Wasn't built like a fine-tuned sentinel. Fume vents zigzagging faster than endorphins. Swinging like a bag full of spanners. Street glimmering in colour till the blood grew layered. And the pistons that churned at the summit of the balance kept churning and moving and heating and burning. Slugs from the parapet, nothing to the 10-speed. Quaking in your boots with a trench-foot bulbous. Celebrating Polaroids of generation gaps in this minute. Every minute, just a minute from the landslide. Light up the sky, hang out in the mines. Put 5 bullets in your family tonight. Say why, or why did the maker decide that this android hella from arrived here tonight? So light up the sky, hang out in the mines. Put 5 bullets in your family tonight. Say why, or why did the maker decide that this android hella from arrived here tonight?
Recorded live, BBC introducing Cambridgeshire. That's Edward Scissortongue, and taken from his new EP, that's Therman. So Ed, you got the new release coming out, set for release tail end of April, you were saying. With that said, what can people expect from this release? I've heard it, I've got a vibe for it, but for people who haven't heard it yet and are really hotly anticipating it, what's coming their way?
Well, it's called the Therman EP. That means it's an EP. Unlike Better Luck Next Life, which was a fully fledged album, I started writing it quite swiftly after the writing process of Better Luck Next Life. So it's been in the tank, sort of simmering and stewing for quite a while now. It's just taken that amount of time to really get together every element that I wanted to be of a high standard and get that all in the mixing pot with it. So the visuals and the videos and the launch nights and the artwork and the design and the entire narrative is very potent. I've thought about every angle and every possible facet that I possibly can. So yeah, it's very considered and I'm very proud of it. Essentially, it's a 7-track EP, which was my best attempt thus far and my most accomplished attempt at sort of storytelling prose. You know, I touched upon that sort of side of my music making on the previous record, but this one is, yeah, from top to tail, whether abstract or explicit, jackanory storytelling, very steeped in fear and doom and death and harrowing scenes that would scare your children.
Again, like we were talking about earlier, about how you kind of move against convention in the way you write. What is it that brings you to these? What inspires you to write that?
I don't know, like, I think at its most primal and basic, when I sit down to write something, whether it's a love song or whether it's a song about a 700-foot alien attacking Bedford Oasis, I find, without much control over it, that my creative brain harbours to darker themes and darker visuals and darker narratives. That's just how it is. That doesn't mean that I walk down the street dressed like Neo out of The Matrix, or that I'm an angry, sorry guy who shouldn't be approached in the street. I'm the complete opposite. That's just where I find most joy as a writer, and that's to be celebrated, in my opinion. That's something that should be embraced. If you're doing something well, then really go to town with it. That's not to say that that's going to define me as an artist until I've given up rapping because I have 7 kids. It's just something that right now I find a whole heap of joy in doing. And, you know, just like people like watching a good horror movie, or people enjoy like watching a good thriller film, it's that side of things that is prevalent and real and exists, and I like operating within them.
And it really does feel over this EP and the last album, you've definitely lived up to your name, Edward Scissortongue, in the way that you've explored not only your your inner mind, but just your vocabulary and the way you can express that into its fullest.
Yeah, I'm just a bit of a geek. I'm a film geek, and I like reading, you know, those kind of things that you'd expect. Those dystopian visions from the key authors that kill those scenes, and I like those things, and I feel like I'm giving it a good stab using my own name and my own music, contributing to that. It's just my thing.
Producer-wise, you're back with Lamplighter for a couple of tracks on this. You also got Dirty Dyke Beat on there. Tell us a little bit about some of the producers that are on this record, as well as those guys, and why you've kind of gone with them. Obviously, Lamplighter, because of the vibe he set with the last album, makes a lot of sense.
Well, that's it. Like, Lamplighter is another good example of someone that operates within the same sort of creative circles as I do. You know, he's a sweetheart. He's a good man, and I've got a lot of time for him, obviously, not just musically, but he loves all that stuff. He's a dark character. He's a visionary in that sense. That's how he operates, and that's why he and I work so well together. And Dyke as well, Dirty Dyke produces at the best of times in terms of what I like in comparison to what I don't like so much. He produces haunting, dark, visually striking hip-hop beats. They're always slow and they churn out, and he never quantizes anything. He just punches those buttons and they have that very organic, raw feel. And that projects me into some sort of strange futuristic place where that's not a firework, that's an atomic bomb. You know, it's not in the here and now. That's just me. Other producers on the record include a 20-year-old producer who's currently in New York called Eon Ra. He's a talented chap. A very, very strange and eccentric dude as well. Like, there seems to be a running theme through these music heads that I work with. Some guys on there who's London Zoo and Problem Child's chief producer, another ridiculous talent. And then we've also got Conscious from up in Glasgow, who is as alien and warped and synthesized as you'll ever hope to find in a producer. And finally, Miles Courtney, who's a dear friend of mine from Cambridge, Life for Land crew, electronic wonder kid. So yeah, the roster is strong, and it makes for a very interesting sonic experience.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in tonight. Just before we get you to introduce your last track, just a quick opportunity. When's the album coming out? And if people want to find out more about you, where can they go find you?
So yeah, the Therman EP comes out on High Focus Records in late April. I go by the name of Edward Scissor. And if you want to find me, I live in East London. Now you can find me on the web, Twitter at @EdScissor, Ed_Scissor, Instagram, Facebook, all the stuff. You can find me. I've got a beard. Track me down.
Brilliant. Right, this last track you're going to do for us. Do you want to introduce this one now?
Yeah, for sure. This is a 7-minute epic called The Calculator, produced by Conscious, Glasgow's finest. BBC introducing Cambridgeshire. Edward Scissortongue here with the main man Tom Simpkins. A Therman EP, High Focus Records. It's like Christmas Day every day. Jeez! Calculators in the bar, fizzling and shorting out. Crunch numbers in the steam before it powers down. I took a call from a man preaching the words of our father. Not religious, but I heard him out. The phone line was humming like the lo-fi drubbings of a ghost like Swayze. I remember the sentiment he was getting at, but the exact words that he used still evade me. It was something about the punishments bestowed upon the shoulders of the troubled and lost. And as the calculator burned and cracked, fist turned and snapped, I saw life for what it was upon this spinning rock. A big bang beginning couldn't bring back the living when the guillotine sharp and commences swinging faster than hell for leather. I dealt with every pasture that gave me tenure, but then the darkness enters. So I'm back to the drawing board. I told the force, scratching thoughts like a Lord the War midterm forecast perform report. Crate loads of guns, bullets hung, the world is yours. 1,000 lives sat on a spinning drum. The white flag swinging, man, give me one. Let me crunch the numbers one last time, just to certify there's enough carnage for everyone. One book, one life, one heaven, one letter line scribe, one fuse wire, one first class stamp, send it on. Mr. Letterbomb, the warm stench of fresh death in the setting sun. Fresh death setting sun. Each phase is wonderful. Schizophrenic discourse, dealing with the numbers. Phone down, I hung it up, I can't quite remember. And returned to the annals of this great adventure. As my world spanned like bastions and abacus shifted, all the pieces just left of centre.
Can you see your lifeline thriving, all the outline mimings of a niggle dot popping top? Crystallized on the tic-tac-toe, tag team trade blows, cause SummerSlam is kicking off. And the coroner is hollow when uriners on an operating table, these with instruments and bottle gods. The music scream sounds a lot like singing when the demons are about and up to not a lot. So pop your cogs and preserve your life in a fossil rock. Just like all of the lies that my brain stores inside, the designs to remind us of all of the signs lead to what we lost. The Renaissance forevermore. All I'm selling is repentance to men at war. 5 people in the queue, where's the exit door? Man, Scissor tongue's a genius, what were you selected for? In the snowdrift of a silver haze, pretty patterns, pity patter in the crystal maze. The same process, repeated steps till the outcome is foolproof. Ladders into outer space. I know I don't know this road, but the darkness that envelops each step seems fraught with danger. Let me size up the saga in bars and a quick set of numbers, man. I'll stick them in the calculator. Stick them in the calculator. Do what I've got to do. Speak to the streets tonight. Surrogate the rotten truth. Flatline like frisbees, skimming through the vortex. Get born, breathe, live, die, happen, get done. It all seems silly when you're cast out like little bits of litter, making killings at the city dawn. And this finer ruby was torn from the flesh when the wind speed was turbulent and meddlesome. But the wind soon waned and the slipstream changed course, just another mortal in the kettle drum. The town is gonna talk about that first thing, when the battlements are breached and when the hearse swings around the corner of the street in which I lie. In the rigmarole, this episode will document the morning. Dot dot dash said the siren on the telephone. A long lost labyrinth of tyrants are awaiting you in a hopscotch valley full of lava leaks and terror drones in the stop-start belly of the carnage that we're racing through. Begs the question, what would our savior do? He take it on the chin like a gentleman, but this type of questioning, it doesn't mean to get knee deep, spilling out your sins inside a vocal booth. That's what I'm trying to do. See, it's good for you. A little bit of honesty to trade with all the lies. To spin apart the many mechanisms thriving in the makeup of my metal heart. The sparking in my state of mind. Just shut the hell up and make a date with darkness. You sowed the seeds for this great macabre. Dip your toes till they're fizzling in lakes of lava. Ask a stupid question and get a stupid answer. Shut the hell up, make a date with darkness. You sowed the seeds for this great macabre. Dip your toes till they're fizzling in lakes of lava. Ask a stupid question and get a stupid answer. Edward Scissor tongue, BBC introducing Cambridgeshire with my main man Tom Simpkins. The Therman EP, out April, something or other, on High Focus Records. Thanks for the lift, DJ Sammy B-side.
Fantastic, Edward Scissortongue, live on BBC introducing Cambridgeshire. Absolutely cracking live session. I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of the Therman EP.